be using two colors from Madame Glitter. The first color we're going to use is called Merlot. It's a really deep burgundy wine color. And then for the inside of our chevron, we're going to be using this really pretty gold. It's called Bare Nude. I've got my glitter poured in a cup so I can pour it on there really quick. I've got my measuring cup, my cup that I'm going to pour my epoxy in, my stir stick, and my fast set epoxy from Counterculture. There are several different ways that you can do this. I believe that if you learn how to do it the hard way, then you can find shortcuts that will help you down the road. You can do it faster. You can always coat your cup with your bottom color. So like if I'm using Bare Nude for the inside of my chevron, you can go ahead and glitter your cup, put a coat of epoxy, and then put your chevron on. I prefer to do it this way because I feel like my glitter is even. So you want to start out with a stainless steel cup. I have sanded, prepped, and washed my cup. This is a white primer. I don't use spray paint. I just use white primer. It's flat. And then I have the chevron file. This is our file. It's on our website. It has already been warped. It was measured using a 20 skinny from Hog, but this is a 20 skinny from Craft Haven, and I've used it on a 20 skinny from Steel Magnolia. If you are a Cricut user, I will put the Cricut measurements down below. I don't know anything about Cricut, so I don't know how to convert it. This was made using Silhouette. So you can, I know that there's a couple of extra steps you have to do in Cricut, but this is on our website, so there's nothing else that you need to do to it. So I have it on my transfer tape. I'm just gonna cut this excess off really quick. And when I go to apply my chevron, I don't start with the edge, I start in the middle. Now this file does have a little bit of an overhang, and when I apply it, you'll see what I'm talking about. The overhang is good because you can trim it, but I wanted to ensure that the chevron wrapped around the full cup. So I am going to peel this back. And this is just regular 651 vinyl. If you have 631, which is, you know, not permanent vinyl, it's removable vinyl, you can go ahead and use that too. So I'm just gonna start right here in the middle, and I'm going to line my points up at the top of my cup. And then all I'm gonna do is smooth it out. I'm gonna work on one side of the cup first, and then I'll pull back the transfer tape and apply the other side. So I'm just smoothing it out, making sure that the vinyl lays flat. So then I'm just gonna peel this back a little bit, just so the other side has something to stick to. And then I'm just gonna pull this because it's got a few wrinkles in it. I'm just gonna pull this back. And then I'm just gonna pull the transfer tape off the cup. The transfer tape that I use is from Expressions Vinyl. It's their opaque transfer tape. I absolutely adore this tape. And there you go. So now that you have your Chevron on, you want to make sure that you don't have any little pieces sticking up because your epoxy will seep under there. So you just want to make sure that you've got really, you know, a really good seal on the vinyl. And when I was talking about overhang, if you look right here down the seam, you'll see that the pieces overhang a little bit. I just take a little straight razor and I just trim off the excess. Just take my weeding pin and pull the excess off. And that's it. And so now your Chevron is all nicely lined up. Again, just go through and make sure you've got a good seal. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna mix. You just need a little bit of epoxy. You do not need a whole lot. Now, when I'm applying the epoxy to my cup, I try to pay special attention to my seam because sometimes it can be hard to see your vinyl underneath your cup. Once you place the glitter, it's kind of hard to see where you've placed your stencil. So I try to, where my seam is, I just try to run my finger around this so I don't get epoxy on this line. That way I can see where to pull. So I'm gonna set that to the side. I'm gonna move this out of the way. And I'm just going to mix a little bit of epoxy. You really only need about 5 mLs total, because you don't want a lot of epoxy on the cup or else it'll run. Once you're done with this, you shouldn't have to put this on the turner to spin. You should just be able to place it on your drying rack or however you store your cups that are waiting for the next step. So you should not have any epoxy running over. So I'm just putting my epoxy in my cup here. I mixed a little more. You only need about 5 mLs total, so don't mix as much as I did. I'm not worried about bubbles because we're just using this as an adhesive to give our glitter something to stick onto. But you do want to make sure that it's mixed really well. Set that to the side. We also have these handy dandy little spatulas. When you're done mixing your epoxy, you just wipe them off and they're ready to go. So those are on the website as well. So I'm just going to stick my finger into the cup and I'm just going to put a very, very, very thin layer of epoxy. And I'm paying attention to where my seam is, again, so I can see where to pull my stencil. Now I'm using Fast Set, which dries in about 2 hours, which means I'll be able to go back in and do my second color the same day. I use Fast Set for a lot of things. And you can get that at Counterculture. I'll be sure to post a link below. So I'm coming up on my seam. So I'm just going to be really careful just to get the epoxy on the white portion of my cup. And with Fast Set, you want to move pretty quick. You've only got a very short window before it starts to set up. You want to make sure that you have really good coverage. So I kind of tilt my cup to the light so I can see if there's any dry spots that I might have missed, like right here. And then we'll get the bottom of the cup. So again, it should be a very, very, very thin layer. You can see the reflection off the light. Okay, I think we're good. Let me take this glove off. And now we're going to use our first color. Just in case I need some more. So we're just going to take this and we're going to dump it all over the cup. This is one of my favorite colors. Then we're going to get the bottom of our cup. I'm just going to tap it. And see where we left the epoxy, didn't get epoxy on these spots, you can see where to pull. So I'm going to dump this back into my cup and hit it again. Because the epoxy does soak up some of the glitter. And then I'm just going to go through and do another coat. And there you go. So now comes the fun part. Now we have to remove our stencil. So I'm going to dump this back into my cup. And again, this color is Merlot. It's from Madame Glitter. She's got a lot of pretty colors. This is one of my absolute favorites. And I'll put the link down below so you'll be able to visit their website. I'm gonna grab another glove, and you need your weeding tool. I have a YouTube video on how to make your own weeding pen. It's just a mechanical pencil and a sewing needle, and that's it. So we're gonna start right here, and we're going to pull off our stencil. So I just kind of take the end and pull and just kind of go in the direction of the V, and your vinyl is less likely to rip. If you just pull gently and just go in the direction of the design, you should be able to pull it off with no problem. You do need a glove though, because there is epoxy on the stencil. So there's our first line. We're gonna come here and we're gonna take our second line off. We're just working our way down. And for the second step, when we go to fill in our lines, I will not use epoxy. I will be using Mod Podge. And I just use the gloss Mod Podge that comes in the orange, with the orange label. And the last one. And there you go. You can take a can of compressed air and blow off the little pieces on there, but this is where we are now. So we're gonna let this dry, and then I'll come back and show you how to fill in the inside pieces. All right guys, I'm back. So I've started the fill in for the chevron. I'm not gonna do the whole thing on camera because I can do 2 lines and you get the gist of it. Once you do all of your fill in, if you need to, this is going to need a second coat. Again, this is Bare Nude by Madam Glitter. If you need a second coat, go back and do a second coat. So I've poured some Mod Podge here in my cup. I've got my glitter in this cup because I can squeeze it and it helps me pretty much stay in the line for the most part. And then I have a brush. So you're just going to dip your paintbrush, and I only do a little section at a time because Mod Podge dries so fast. So I'm just going to paint the Mod Podge into the blank spot. And this is just a cheap brush from Walmart. I try to pick a brush that's wide enough to fit, so I can pretty much make one solid motion. I'm going to take my glitter. Just sprinkle it. I'm not worried about the gold staying on top of the Merlot or the burgundy color because that part is already dry. I highly suggest you investing in some canned air. This is the one that I use. It's from Walmart. I think it comes like a 4-pack or a 5-pack. And once this is dry, you can just hit this chevron with your canned air and it'll blow the excess glitter off. I love canned air. It helps with easy cleanup. And I'll do this next line, and then you just complete the process until you're done. And that's it. So once you get all of your fill-in done, let it dry, and then I seal, when I'm working with multiple colors, I always seal with Rust-Oleum 2X. Seal it, I'll seal it probably 2 or 3 times, just to ensure that when I go to apply my first coat of epoxy, that my colors do not run into each other. So that's it. That is as easy as it gets. I'm going to be working on a summertime ombre, Chevron, and I will be uploading it to YouTube. So I hope this was helpful. Everything that I used will be linked into the description below. If you found this video helpful, just give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, make sure that you do so that you don't miss any tutorials or any goodies that we put out. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, y'all.